Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And in today's video, we are reacting to the last two parts of The Last Dance 97-98 Chicago Bulls documentary. But before I start this video, I just want to send a huge special thank you to the first responders out there that are on the front lines helping us fight this crazy time that we are in right now throughout the world. And also, just a reminder that you guys are staying absolutely safe out there and taking the proper precautions and things like that. But let's get back to the business at hand. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little prouder.
This documentary, I want to say, was the greatest documentary that I have ever seen. Point blank, period. Just in its entirety, it really led us into an insight as to what drove Michael Jordan, what went on behind the scenes a little bit with Jordan, what went on behind the scenes with the Bulls. It was just the greatest thing I've ever seen. And one thing I want to touch on was Steve Kerr and the thoughts around him losing his father, and how he mentioned that he really did not talk to them about Jordan because of how painful it was. I mean, I understand that a great deal. Having lost my father, sometimes I just don't want to talk about it because sometimes it's still painful, even though it wasn't in the way that Jordan and Kerr lost their fathers. It's at the same time. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to talk about, especially when you're still in the process of just kind of moving forward in life without them, after really having them there throughout everything that you've done up to that point in your life. And it's a mental thing that will never go away. It just will never go away. Even with seeing Steve Kerr getting emotional just talking about it. And it was in 1983 when his father was killed. It's something that never, ever goes away. And the mentality that drove Michael Jordan that 97 finals, after the tough test that Larry Bird coached Indiana Pacers team brought. And the Indiana Pacers team, I can remember as a kid watching that series and it going 7 games and the Bulls being down. And me even being just a 7-year-old kid at the time, it's just like, are the Bulls really going to lose this game? It really felt like that. I can remember watching the game with my dad, and it was just like, are the Bulls going to lose? And the will that team had to really pull out that game 7 against the Indiana Pacers in 97, it's just crazy, competitive, crazy spirit, and it just shows the will of the Bulls to really push themselves to that next level to attain championships. And it's just a great thing. Even just me being a kid from Chicago, I absolutely, even me being 7 years old, I loved it. I loved it. And the mentality in the 97 finals, Jordan hitting that buzzer beater in game 1 was crazy. But we all know what the elephant in the room is with that 97 finals. The flu game. It's crazy to think that the flu game was just the food poisoning game. It's crazy. Jordan gets the pizza in his room one night, eats the whole pizza. Kind of reminds me of quarantine times. But it's just crazy how he eats the pizza one night. And then not only that, it takes 5 delivery guys, 5, to deliver the pizza. And the trainer was like, something is not right with this. And in the middle of the night, Jordan's feeling sick. And I've heard rumors about this before. I've seen it on other things that it could have been a bad food or bad pizza or hangover. And for Jordan to just come out and admit that it was all food poisoning, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to think the Jazz, the city of Utah, delivering a pizza thinking they were going to shun Jordan, it led to food poisoning. And then it led to this. And then it led to another Bulls championship. Sorry, Utah. Can't stop Jordan. You tried it. It didn't work. And as for the shoes, I just think, when is everybody going to stand in line for the food poisoning 12s? Honestly, when are you going to stand in line for the food poisoning 12s? Let's just be honest. They might as well change the name of the shoes to the food poisoning 12s. It's no longer the flu game. Jordan said it himself. It's no longer the flu game. They should call the shoes now the food poisoning 12s. It's just crazy. It's mind-boggling, but he still came out with an iconic game. Food poisoning or flu. It was still iconic, still sick, still put up 38 points in that game. It's crazy. The limits that Michael Jordan really pushed himself to. Now let's move forward to the 1998 finals. The Jazz were on another level during the 98 season. The Bulls did not beat the Jazz during that season. And for the Bulls to really start out the gates a little slow, have play in here and there. In the game 2, they win. The game 3 was an absolute domination. I mean, damn. 54 points in an NBA game. A shot clock era 48-minute NBA game. You held a team to 54 points. It's just crazy how basically the Bulls just turned it up another notch. And the Dennis Rodman thing with him going to go to the WCW. Matter of fact, it's time for me to change the attire a bit. I mean, I gotta rock the squad. I am a big wrestling fan. Well, not anymore. I was a big wrestling fan back then as a kid, and the NWO just happened to be my favorite group of all time. And to see Dennis Rodman in the NWO and skipping practice to go wrestle with the NWO, Hulk Hogan, my guys, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. I mean, it was great. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. As me being the NWO fan and me seeing one of my players from the Bulls on wrestling, it was crazy. But for him to skip practice to do that, and he got fined and all that, and then for him to have to sneak out of the practice facility to really escape the media, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But Dennis, what can we say? Dennis was his own person. Dennis did things Dennis's way, but when he stepped on the court, he was giving you 110% rebound, hustle, hard energy. So you had to let the guy be himself. You really did. Or else you weren't going to get that same production for him. And I'm glad that Phil Jackson really understood that and really let Dennis be Dennis, but still had the little, not control, but have it where he was able to let Dennis be loose and let Dennis be himself. And you got the finished product, which is the domination of defense, rebounding, and hustle on the court. But the next part I want to get to is Game 6. Game 6 of the 98 Finals was one of the better games I've watched in NBA basketball in my lifetime. Even me being a 7-year-old Chicago kid, I remember this game vividly. It was just crazy back and forth. Bulls were hitting shots. Pippen with the back injury and playing in and out of the lineup, just willing himself through that game. Karl Malone was a man on fire for a lot of the game. He was hitting tough shots, battling for rebounds. It was just a crazy back and forth game. This is one of the best games I've ever seen. It was one of the better back and forth games of the Bulls run, and Michael Jordan's greatness. Even with Scottie being out, even with a lot of the things that were going on, he was tired. He really pushed himself through to just dominate with 45 points. In the last game, he's at the kind of the latter stages of his career, and he's still dominating. He's still taking over the game with a hurt Scottie Pippen. His mindset for that still, for him to see the plays beforehand and to know the players coming. Karl Malone didn't see him, and he just comes back, wipes the ball, goes down the court, and I remember this, the most iconic shot I've seen with my own two eyes. Him just dribbling it. And I mean, just sitting there, clock's ticking, and Bob Costa said it so perfectly. Either it's game 7 or it's championship number 6. Jordan pulls up, and he said it earlier in the documentary that Byron Russell really played on his toes. So he can get him going one way, can't stop himself, and he can go back to the other way. And that's exactly what happened. Drives right, steps left. That hand wasn't really pushing him. I know a lot of people say, foul, foul. No. Byron Russell was basically falling that way. Michael pulls back and hits the shot of my lifetime. To have the Bulls their 6th championship. Ooh, I could just remember as a kid, everybody celebrating, happy. I didn't know the details at the time as being 7 years old, that it was basically over with at that point. And then to say that Jerry Reinsdorf, after the championship, offered to Phil to coach one more year. Then they had him say that he had to break that team up. Players are going to get market value. But Michael said it best. To think, if you give these guys a 1-year contract to get a run at the 7th, get a run at another title, you don't think they would have taken the opportunity to get the 7th championship? Really? You really don't think that? Even with Jerry Krause saying that Phil was in his last year, you don't think anybody in that situation would have taken a 1-year deal to try to get ring number 7? I would have taken it. Even if they don't succeed, if they do succeed, Jordan said he wanted to do it. It's just, I understand if at some point you're going to have to break the team up. It's eventually going to happen. It is inevitable. Maybe it's a year too early. Who knows? We would never know at this point, but eventually the team was going to have to be broken up. It's just the way that it was broken up. And like Michael said, he would never accept it the way it would happen. He would never accept it. Me, I was 7 at the time, so I really wouldn't know how deep it was. I was still in a kid's mind at that point. So it's just crazy to think that Jerry Krause's ego and Jerry Reinsdorf thinking that players are going to sign for obscene money broke up the last run of the Bulls. Egos are clashing, broke up the Bulls. But overall, this was the absolute greatest documentary that I've ever seen. I'm probably going to rewatch it again at some point because it was just that good. It was that great at storytelling and having things linked from the past of Michael, Scottie, Dennis, Kerr, all of the pieces to really bring it to a really great end in the very last episode. Just kudos to the people who created and made and did this documentary. The best thing I've ever seen. Point blank, period. That is all I've got for you guys. Be sure to like the video. Comment your thoughts on the entire documentary below. And do you think I should do an entire review of the entire series? If you do, leave that in the comment section down below. Share the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps the channel to grow. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Both handles APW Sports, and I will link both in the description below. Make sure that you guys are staying safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video on this 31 day challenge. Peace out.
I wanna say thank you to my mom and my daddy for making love the night that you had me. Wanna thank my friends, my sister, and my brother.